She worked 3 jobs, until the cowboy changed everything. Rhyolite, Nevada, 1906. The town woke before the sun, but Lily Ashford had already been awake for hours. Her fingers were raw, her back ached, and sleep had become a luxury she could no longer afford. At dawn, she scrubbed floors at the boarding house. By afternoon, she stitched torn dresses at Mrs. Calder's tailor shop, and when night fell, she carried trays of coffee and stew at the Silver Spur Saloon, smiling even when her feet felt like they might bleed through her worn shoes. 3 jobs, 1 exhausted heart, yet still, it was barely enough. Lily paused outside the saloon doors, inhaling the cool desert air before stepping back inside. The smell of whiskey and dust hit her instantly. Men laughed, cards slapped against wooden tables, and a piano clanged out a tired tune in the corner. She lifted her chin. Just a few more hours, she told herself. Her father's debts haunted her like a ghost. When he died, he left behind nothing but unpaid loans, a broken cabin, and a reputation that followed Lily wherever she went. Some townsfolk pitied her, others whispered, a few tried to take advantage. But Lily refused to bend. She had learned something harsh in her 22 years of life. No one was coming to save her. Or so she believed. At a corner table sat a man who didn't belong to Rhyolite. Lily noticed him the moment she walked in, not because he was loud, but because he was quiet. He wore a weathered brown hat pulled low over dark eyes, his posture relaxed but alert. His hands were strong, scarred in the way only ranch work could do. Unlike the miners and drifters around him, he didn't leer or shout. He simply watched. Samuel Zander. That was the name whispered between the bartender and the piano player earlier that evening. A ranch owner from outside town. Widowed, wealthy, private, and dangerous in the way men with nothing to prove often were. Lily approached his table with a tray. Coffee, she asked softly. He looked up, and for just a moment, the noise of the saloon faded. His eyes weren't cruel. They weren't hungry either. They were tired. The kind of tired that came from carrying responsibility, not drink. Yes, ma'am, he said. If it's fresh. She nodded and poured. As she set the cup down, her sleeve slipped, revealing reddened wrists and a faint bruise she hadn't noticed forming. Samuel's gaze lingered, not in judgment, but concern. You work too hard, he said. Lily stiffened. She'd heard that line before. Hard work keeps a roof over my head, she replied, already turning away. Before she could take 2 steps, he spoke again. How many jobs? She stopped. 3. That earned a low exhale from him. That's too many for one woman. She turned back sharply. I didn't ask for your opinion, sir. Samuel didn't smile. He didn't argue. He simply reached into his coat and pulled out a folded envelope. I have a ranch, he said calmly. I need someone to manage the house, the accounts, and the supplies. Someone honest. Someone strong. He slid the envelope across the table. It pays more than all 3 of your jobs combined. The saloon noise crashed back into Lily's ears. She stared at the envelope like it might bite her. What's the catch? She asked. Samuel met her gaze without flinching. No catch. No ownership. No expectations beyond the work. She swallowed. Why me? Because I've been watching you all night, he said. And you don't break. Silence stretched between them. Lily thought of her father. Of overdue notices. Of nights spent crying quietly so no one would hear. She pushed the envelope back. I don't go to strange men's ranches, she said. Samuel nodded once, accepting it. Fair enough, he replied. Offer stands until Sunday. He rose, placed payment on the table, and tipped his hat. As he walked out, Lily's hands trembled. For the first time in years, hope scared her more than poverty. The offer that wouldn't leave her alone. Lily barely slept that night. The envelope sat untouched on the small wooden table beside her bed, its edges catching the moonlight that slipped through the cracked window of her rented room. She hadn't opened it. She didn't need to. Money had a weight to it. And she could already feel how heavy this one was. She turned onto her side, staring at the ceiling where water stains formed shapes she'd memorized over the years. Every ache in her body reminded her why the offer terrified her. Men with money never gave without taking. Her father had trusted the wrong people once. That mistake had buried him in debt and left Lily fighting a battle that was never meant to be hers. By morning, she had decided. She would refuse. The boarding house floors were colder than usual, or maybe Lily was just more tired. She scrubbed harder than necessary, her thoughts spiraling back to Samuel Xander's calm voice. No expectations beyond the work. She'd heard lies dressed up prettier than that. Mrs. Holloway, the boarding house owner, watched her from the doorway. "You're quiet today, Lily." "Just tired," Lily replied. Mrs. Holloway hesitated. "Word travels fast in a small town. I heard you spoke to Samuel Xander last night." Lily's shoulders stiffened. "And," the older woman sighed, "men like him don't come to Rhyolite for nothing." "Exactly," Lily muttered. But Mrs. Holloway surprised her by saying softly, "Sometimes they come because they're lonely." Lily paused. Lonely. That word followed her all the way to the tailor shop, stitched itself into every hem she sewed, echoed in the rhythmic clack of the sewing machine. She imagined a wide ranch house sitting too quiet at night. A man eating meals alone. A life full of land, yet empty of warmth. She shook her head. Not your problem. Sunday came faster than she expected. At the Silver Spur, the air buzzed louder than usual. A fight broke out near the back, and Lily barely avoided a flying chair. When it was over, she found herself shaking, coffee spilled down her apron. Samuel Xander stood between two arguing men, his voice firm but low. He didn't raise it once, yet both men backed down. He wasn't violent. He was commanding. Their eyes met across the room. Samuel didn't approach her. He didn't corner her or pressure her. Instead, he tipped his hat and turned toward the door. That's when Lily realized something terrifying. If she didn't stop him now, he would leave. Her feet moved before her mind caught up. "Mr. Xander," she called. He turned. She walked toward him, heart pounding so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. "I'll hear the details," she said. Nothing more. A flicker of something crossed his face, relief, maybe. Or respect. "That's all I ask," he replied. They sat at a quiet table near the window. Samuel slid the envelope toward her again. "Your pay would be monthly. Room and board included. Sundays off, if you want them." Lily frowned. Most men wouldn't offer a woman Sundays off. "I'm not most men." She opened the envelope. Her breath caught. The number written inside was more money than she had ever held at one time in her life. "This is," she swallowed. "Why so much?" Samuel leaned back slightly. "Because the ranch needs order. And because I won't underpay someone just because they're desperate." That hit her harder than she expected. "What about your wife?" Lily asked quietly. His jaw tightened. "She passed 3 years ago." "I'm sorry." "So am I," he said simply. Silence fell between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. "Last question," Lily said. "If I say yes, what do you expect from me?" "Truly." Samuel met her gaze, unwavering. "Respect, honesty, and the same distance you'd expect from me." Something in her chest loosened. She nodded slowly. "I'll come for 1 month." He smiled then, not wide, not charming. "Just real." 1 month, he agreed. That night, Lily packed everything she owned into a single worn suitcase. As she closed it, fear and hope tangled together in her chest. She didn't know yet that this decision would change her life. She didn't know how deeply the ranch would test her strength. And she certainly didn't know how dangerously close she would grow to the man who hired her. All she knew was this. For the first time since her father died, she was walking toward something new. The ranch where silence spoke louder than words. The ranch was larger than Lily imagined. As the wagon rolled through the iron gate, the land stretched endlessly on both sides, golden fields, weathered fences, and distant hills rising like quiet guardians. The main house stood solid and proud, built from pale wood and stone, its wide porch shaded and still. Too still. Lily clutched her suitcase tighter. "This is home," Samuel said, guiding the horses to a stop. She stepped down slowly, her boots sinking into the dry earth. The air smelled clean, sun, hay, and something steady she couldn't name. No saloon noise, no shouting, no judgmental eyes, just space. "This is big," she murmured. Samuel nodded. "Too big for one person." Something in his tone made her glance at him. His eyes lingered on the house, not with pride, but with distance, as if it belonged to another life. A woman emerged from the side door, wiping her hands on her apron. She was older, sharp-eyed, and clearly not impressed. "This must be her," the woman said. Lily straightened instinctively. "Lily Ashford," she introduced herself. "Helen," the woman replied. "Housekeeper. Been here longer than anyone." Samuel inclined his head respectfully. Helen runs this place better than I ever could. Helen studied Lily from head to toe. We'll see. Lily's room was modest but warm. A real bed, a window that opened to the fields. Clean sheets. She sat on the edge of the mattress, stunned. All this, just for doing the work. That night, she ate at the long dining table with Samuel seated across from her. The space between them felt deliberate, polite, careful. You don't have to eat with me, she said. I want to, he replied. They ate in silence at first. Finally, Lily spoke. I don't plan to be a burden. Samuel set his fork down. You're not. You don't even know how I work yet. I know enough. She looked up. How? You came, he said simply. That answer stayed with her long after dinner ended. Days passed. Lily brought order where chaos had quietly settled. She balanced accounts, organized supplies, and caught mistakes no one else had noticed. The ranch hands began to respect her, not because Samuel demanded it, but because she earned it. Still, not everyone was pleased. A man named Cole, broad-shouldered and sharp-tongued, watched her closely. She's awfully comfortable here, he muttered one afternoon. Samuel's voice was calm but firm. She works harder than any of us. Cole scoffed. Or she's got other intentions. Lily overheard. That night, she couldn't sleep. She found herself on the porch, wrapped in a shawl, staring out at the moonlit fields. Samuel joined her quietly. Cole's wrong, she said before he could speak. I won't stay past the month if that's what people think. Samuel leaned against the railing. Cole's opinions don't run this ranch. Rumors still matter. He turned toward her then, his voice low. So does truth. Their eyes met. For a second, the space between them felt charged, like a line neither dared cross. I won't cross any boundaries, Lily said. Samuel nodded. Neither will I. But as he walked away, Lily realized something that unsettled her more than fear ever had. Boundaries didn't stop feelings. They only delayed them. One evening, a sudden storm rolled in fast and wild. Rain slammed against the roof, thunder cracking overhead. A horse broke loose from the stable. Without thinking, Lily ran. Lily, Samuel shouted. She slipped in the mud, pain shooting through her ankle. Samuel reached her just in time, catching her before she hit the ground. His hands were strong, steady. You're hurt, he said. I'm fine, she lied. He didn't argue. He lifted her, carefully, respectfully, and carried her back inside. For a moment, Lily rested against his chest. And for the first time in years, she felt safe. Later, as Helen wrapped Lily's ankle, she watched Samuel from the corner of her eye. The way he hovered, the way his jaw tightened with worry. Helen leaned in and whispered, Careful, girl. With what? With men who don't say what they feel. Lily swallowed. She had survived hunger. She had survived grief. But this might be the hardest thing yet. The distance between what was said and what was felt. Lily's ankle healed faster than her thoughts. By the end of the week, she was walking again, though Samuel insisted she take things slow. He watched her more now, not openly, but carefully, as if afraid that concern alone might reveal too much. That quiet attention unsettled her. Because it wasn't what he did, it was what he didn't say. At night, Lily found herself listening for his footsteps on the porch, wondering if he was awake too. Wondering if he felt the same pull she tried so hard to ignore. She hated herself for it. She hadn't come here to fall for anyone. Trouble arrived in the form of a woman named Clara Bell. She came riding in one afternoon, dressed fine enough to announce her intentions before she ever spoke. Her smile was sharp, practiced, the kind Lily had seen before on women who expected the world to bend. Samuel, Clara said warmly, slipping from her horse. You didn't tell me you had company. Samuel stiffened. This is Lily Ashford. She manages the house. Clara's gaze swept over Lily, slow and assessing. Ah, she said. The new arrangement. The words stung more than Lily expected. That evening, Clara stayed for dinner. She laughed too loud, touched Samuel's arm too often. Spoke of shared memories Lily had no place in. I always thought you'd remarry, Clara said lightly. Someone has to fill that house of yours. Lily pushed back her chair. Excuse me. She fled to the porch, the cool air biting at her skin. Why did this hurt? She had no claim to him. No right to feel anything at all. Footsteps followed. Lily, Samuel said softly. She didn't turn. You don't owe me explanations. I want to give one. She faced him then, anger and confusion twisting together. Is she why you hired me? Lily asked. To make it look like you've moved on. His expression darkened. No. Then why does it feel like I'm standing in someone else's place? Samuel took a breath, measured and deep. Because you don't belong to this town's gossip. That doesn't answer my question. His voice dropped. I hired you because I trust you. Nothing more. Nothing more. The words felt like a door closing. The next morning, Lily requested her wages early. Samuel stared at her. You're leaving. At the end of the month, she said. As agreed. He nodded, but something in his eyes changed. Distance. He gave it to her, exactly as she asked. Days turned colder. Conversations grew shorter. The ranch felt larger, emptier. Then came the accident. Cole was thrown from a horse near the far ridge. A storm was brewing again, fast and dangerous. Samuel prepared to ride out. I'm coming, Lily said. No, he replied sharply. Stay here, I know the land now. This isn't a discussion. The words cut deeper than he realized. Lily stepped back. I see. She watched him ride away, fear clawing at her chest, mixed with something worse. Regret. Hours later, the storm broke. Samuel returned soaked and bleeding, a deep gash across his arm. Without hesitation, Lily ran to him. She cleaned the wound with trembling hands. You could have been killed, she whispered. So could you, he said. She looked up, eyes shining. Why do you push me away? Silence. Then, quietly, because if I don't, I won't be able to stop. Her breath caught. Samuel stepped back immediately, as if he'd said too much. I should rest, he muttered. And just like that, the truth hovered between them, unclaimed. That night, Lily cried into her pillow, the weight of an impossible choice crushing her chest. Stay and risk her heart, or leave before it was taken from her. She didn't know that fate was already deciding for them. The day she chose to leave, Lily woke before dawn. The ranch was silent, wrapped in a pale gray light that made everything feel unfinished. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her packed suitcase. She had repacked it 3 times. Not because she had more things, but because she kept hoping something would change if she moved her belongings around. Nothing did. She folded the last dress carefully and closed the case. This is the right choice, she told herself. You've survived worse than a broken heart. Outside, horses shifted in the stable. Somewhere, a door creaked. Samuel was awake. That knowledge tightened her chest. She hadn't planned to say goodbye. If she saw his face again, she might stay, and staying meant losing herself. Samuel stood at the fence line, staring out over the land that had never once abandoned him. Until now, he heard footsteps and turned too late. Lily froze when she saw him. The suitcase at her feet said everything she hadn't yet spoken. You're leaving, he said quietly. Yes. When? Today. The word landed heavy between them. Samuel swallowed. You said a month. I said I'd come, she replied. Not that I'd belong. That hurt, and he didn't hide it. I never asked you to belong. No, she said softly. You just made it feel like I did. Silence followed. Then Samuel spoke, slower now. If I ask you to stay. Lily's breath hitched. Would it matter? She shook her head, tears slipping free. It would matter too much. She picked up her suitcase. Samuel stepped forward, then stopped himself, like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. I'm not good at loving, he said. I lost my wife because I shut her out. I promised myself I wouldn't do that again. Then why are you doing it now? Lily whispered. Because losing you feels just as dangerous. That broke her. She reached out, then pulled back. Goodbye, Samuel. She walked past him. Each step felt like tearing something out of her chest. The wagon ride back to Rhyolite felt longer than before. The town hadn't changed, but Lily had. The saloon felt louder, the air heavier. She returned to her 3 jobs. And somehow, they felt harder than ever. At night, she dreamed of open fields and quiet dinners. Of a man who watched her like she mattered. Meanwhile, Samuel unraveled. The ranch fell into disorder. Meals went untouched. Nights stretched endlessly. Helen confronted him one evening. You let her go, she said flatly. I didn't stop her. That's worse. Her words echoed long after she left. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Lily stared at the envelope, her hands shaking. Samuel's handwriting was careful, deliberate. Lily, I was wrong to let fear decide for me. If you ever believed there was nothing more, I was lying. I don't know how to ask for forgiveness, only how to offer truth. Come back, not as an employee, as yourself. Tears blurred the page. She pressed the letter to her chest. But love wasn't enough if it came too late. Or was it? Lily stood at the window, heart torn between past pain and future hope. For the first time, the choice was hers. When love finally found its voice, Lily read the letter again. And then again. Each word felt heavier than the last, not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Samuel hadn't begged. He hadn't promised perfection. He had offered truth. That night, Lily barely slept. The past weeks replayed in her mind. The ranch at dawn, quiet dinners, the way Samuel looked at her like she was something fragile and fierce at the same time. She folded the letter carefully and placed it in her pocket. By morning, her decision was made. The road back to the ranch felt different. Not easier, but purposeful. As the wagon crested the final hill, the house came into view. The fields looked unchanged, yet something in Lily's chest stirred like she was returning to herself. Samuel stood in the yard when she arrived. He looked thinner, tired, but when he saw her, hope crossed his face so quickly he couldn't hide it. She stepped down from the wagon slowly. I came to hear the truth, Lily said. Samuel nodded. Then I'll tell it all. They walked together, stopping near the fence where they'd last spoken. I've lived my life behind walls, he began. After my wife died, I thought loving again meant betraying her memory. Lily listened, silent. You didn't replace anything, he continued. You reminded me I was still alive. Her breath trembled. I pushed you away because I didn't trust myself with something this real. He met her eyes fully now. I love you, Lily. Not carefully, not quietly, completely. The world seemed to still. Lily closed her eyes, tears falling freely. I needed you to choose me, she whispered. Not convenience, not fear. Samuel stepped closer. I choose you. She opened her eyes. Every day, he added. Even if you never forgive me. Lily laughed through her tears, soft, broken, real. She reached for his hand. I don't need perfection, she said. I need honesty. He held her like he'd been waiting a lifetime to do so. Life didn't change overnight. Healing never does. But Lily stayed. She worked beside Samuel, not beneath him. They learned each other slowly, the scars, the silences, the small joys. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Samuel stopped in the middle of the field. I have something to ask you. She raised an eyebrow. That sounds dangerous. He smiled, truly smiled. Stay, not because you need to. Because you want to. Lily looked at the land, the house, the man before her. I already am, she said. Yet the town still watched. Whispers followed her. Doubts lingered. But this time, Lily didn't feel alone. Because love, real love, stood beside her. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of it. More than all three jobs combined. The town of Rhyolite noticed when Lily stayed. At first, it was small things. She no longer rushed through the streets with tired eyes and worn shoes. She no longer avoided people's stares. She walked with steadiness now, not because life was easy, but because she wasn't carrying it alone anymore. That unsettled people, especially those who believed a woman like Lily Ashford didn't get happy endings. Clara Bell returned one final time. This time, she didn't smile. So it's true, Clara said sharply, standing on the ranch porch. You chose her. Samuel didn't hesitate. Yes. Lily stood beside him, her hand resting calmly in his. Clara's gaze flicked toward Lily. You think this ends well for you? Lily met her eyes, steady and unafraid. It already has. Clara scoffed and rode away, her pride more wounded than her heart. The ranch fell quiet again. But something had shifted, not just between Lily and Samuel, but in the world around them. The town tried once more. At the general store, whispers followed Lily down the aisles. At church, heads turned. Finally, Lily stopped caring. And when Samuel stood beside her in public, not ahead, not behind, the whispers slowly lost their power. Because confidence is louder than gossip. One evening, Samuel led Lily out to the far field where the land opened wide and endless. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and fire. This land gave me everything, Samuel said. And then it took almost all of it. He turned to her. You gave it back. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily's breath caught. I won't promise you an easy life, he said. But I will promise you this, you'll never have to work 3 jobs just to survive again. He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring. Honest. Strong. Lily Ashford, he said quietly, will you stay, not as someone who was hired, but as someone who is loved? Tears slid freely down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered, I will. He slipped the ring onto her finger, hands trembling just enough to show how much it meant. Their wedding wasn't grand. It didn't need to be. The ranch hands stood proud. Helen cried openly. The fields bore witness. Lily walked toward Samuel not as a girl burdened by debt and fear, but as a woman who had survived, chosen, and been chosen. And when Samuel took her hands, he smiled like a man who finally understood wealth. Not land, not money, not power, love. Years later, people would still tell the story. They'd say a cowboy once offered a woman a job that paid more than 3 others combined. But the truth was simpler. He offered her respect, safety, and a place where her strength was seen. And she offered him a life worth living again. You enjoyed this story? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. More emotional, heart-touching stories are waiting for you right here on this channel. Sparkles, thank you for listening. Your support keeps these stories alive.